Hey there, mainframe enthusiasts. 𝘀𝗂𝗽𝗃 here with Tish Talks Tech, and today we are going to talk about the mind-blowing, universal digital show called Tish Talks Tech. And now that show on YouTube, which I'm sure you have liked and subscribed, has a brand new playlist. Just understand that the main network is where it's at. This is the sponsored series. This is where people that are really doing the work and putting the boots on the ground are coming to have conversations out loud that are real. Now, this particular series that we're going to watch in just a few moments is the very first in the series. I really hope that you enjoy it. I really, really do. The Mainframe Learning Consortium is brought to us by the good folks over at KTCS, which is Knowledge Transfer Consulting Services, and they are putting in the work. So in this particular video that you're going to watch, you are going to see Dr. Cameron Seay, Professor Geoffrey Decker, and Gary Gwaltney. Enjoy. Welcome, by the way, to the main network. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Mainframe Learning Consortium. Hello, everybody. How are you?
Hi.
Doing great.
How are you?
Great.
I'm doing awesome. Thanks so much for asking. So the Mainframe Learning Consortium is brought to us by Knowledge Transfer. We know them as the mighty KTCS. You've seen them all over LinkedIn. So I don't really need to even introduce you all, but for the people that may not know, which is no one, but for the people that may not know, let us go ahead and get started with who you are. Who would like to introduce themselves first?
I'm Geoffrey Decker, and I've taught computer science, mostly mainframe, at Northern Illinois University now for almost 22 years, just next month. And I love the mainframe. It's been my primary focus of my entire career for the last 35 years. Mm-hmm. And I just love teaching. Teaching is the best job in the world. Seeing young people get out there, and some older, get out there and do wonderful things is the most rewarding thing about being a teacher, and one of the rewarding reasons to be a teacher. So I'm glad to be here as part of Knowledge Transfer and the Mainframe Learning Consortium. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And it's such a pleasure to have you here. And if you all don't know, Geoffrey Decker's students always come out with this vast amount of knowledge of COBOL, right? But also assembler. So if you see any of his students out there, any of the graduating class, go ahead and pick them up if they're not already taken, because those people definitely are about that life here on Mainframe. So who would like to go next?
I will. Thanks, 𝘀𝗂𝗽𝗃. My name is Gary Gwaltney, and I'm a co-owner of Knowledge Transfer. And for the last 25 years, Knowledge Transfer's main focus is working with corporations, helping them manage their training requirements. So we would provide an end-to-end service where we'd help refine the requirements, help them get clarity around what they needed as far as learning and how that's going to help them solve their challenges. And then we identify the right content. And then we'd go out and match the right instructors or training vendors to make sure that that quality of training is going to be delivered. And then we would manage it end to end. So it's been very rewarding. We've got to manage, monitor training globally, 62 cities across all time zones. But last year was something that just kind of changed my life.
Doing great. And I'm very glad to be here in such auspicious company. I'm Cameron Seay. I teach mainframe. I've been teaching mainframe since 2005, 2006. My school was the first stop on the IBM Academic Initiative System Z, purely by luck, not by design. And I got bitten by a bug. And I work in this space. I was in IT for about 21 years. Never was a production mainframe. Did a lot of other things. But long story that I won't go into, but I navigated my way into teaching. I was doing very well in IT. I was making really good money, but it didn't really razz my berry, so to speak. I mean, I didn't get any deep satisfaction from it.
Okay.
I liked the work, but I didn't get anything. And I was writing my dissertation and stumbled across a professor at North Carolina Central University in HBCU, went up to visit her, series of events, met a student. Young lady asked me a week before graduation, is this degree going to help me get a job? I was at Georgia State with a world-class CIS program. We didn't ask that question.
Right.
So I thought it was a dang curious question. I said, well, I got to find out why she asking that question. What is going on for us asking that question? And
that's right.
And then stumbled into IBM mainframe and haven't looked back ever since. And, last summer was just pure joy. But you asked, how did it come together so quickly? Well, you're talking about a 20-year process, right? It didn't come together quickly. A lot of trial and error, right? That was like probably the 20th boot camp that I put on. But the first one of that type. You do this stuff over and over again. I teach this stuff every semester. So you just learn, and I'm in constant contact with industry, so I know what it is they want.
Right.
If they tell me to teach a certain thing, I teach that thing, and they hire a student, I keep teaching it. As long as you stay in the heads of the hiring managers whose jobs are on the line to get good people, you can find out exactly what they need and teach that. It's not complicated. And so when you put together somebody like Gary Gwaltney and Geoffrey Decker, I mean, this team is unique. I mean, what we do is so unheard of, but it's because I saw this coming a long time ago. Geoffrey saw this coming a long time ago, and we start positioning ourselves to be ready for this moment because we knew mathematically nothing else could happen other than what's happening right now. Now, I'm a little surprised at the response of industry being so slow to address it, but that's why we're here. So that's my story. That's all I've got to say.
Gary, what was the motivation behind starting up the MLC?
It's a great question. And like Dr. Seay, it's something that's been, kind of building up for the last 26 years. My vision, or when I started knowledge transfer, what I wanted to do was go out to multiple companies and build a network where we could share resources, share costs. So that's been the idea for the longest time. What really popped out was when we went to share a conference in Atlanta, and Dr. Seay and I were talking to a few people, and they came right out and said, listen, what you guys did was great, but I'm a smaller company. I don't need 8, 10 people or apprentice. I need 1 or 2. And then that just popped in my head going, finally, maybe we have an opportunity to bring this consortium idea back to the table, which is where we can get 20 companies, and all 20 companies may have 3, 2, someone might need 8, but together we can bring them in as a consortium. We can teach them mainframe. We can get them prepared, not only to walk in and be, project ready and ready to work as a junior level, but very, very competent.
I mean, it's an amazing community to be a part of. Amazing.
That's right. Yeah, we're all pretty much here to help each other. And I think that when one person knows, okay, that's a good resource for this, and that's a good resource for that. And then, and that's the best part about shares, because we're able to just kind of combine those things, right? And we're able to come together in this congenial environment and just really press out, or I like to say iron out and hang on a hanger, the things that we need and how we can help other people within our space. And I think that that's the best part about that whole thing. And what you all did down at Share, speaking with the ones that you did, and just really bringing some sunshine into the space That was wonderful. That was wonderful. And I bet the people that you met are pretty happy that you met them, because the relationships are definitely there.
But back to your question about consortium,
Mhm.
it is something that I believe in. I want to get multiple companies to come together, because we don't have all the ideas either. We want them to tell us what they need, so
Yeah.
that way we can come up with more innovative ways to bring the knowledge to these folks and get them ready, project ready, get them out there. And we can't do it on our side. We need both sides. We need the companies telling us their requirements and what they see, and then what we need to do is say, yes, we can do that.
I love how you said, it was infectious, and the air in the room just fills people, and they become excited because they know once they finally get the exposure to what the mainframe is all about, they become super excited and really willing to just go all in. Wouldn't you agree, Dr. Seay?
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing that they enjoy is being able to tame this beast that has almost unimaginable power on the other side of that screen. And they know how to talk to that beast, and they're not afraid of that beast. And now they only know how to, they only know how to do a few little simple things, but that's orders of magnitude more than other people do. And I tell them, my students love having to say, now you know things, whether you work in mainframe or not, you know things about how the world works that people that don't know this don't know.
Right.
And that's valuable. That's valuable. And most students get it, some don't. But I've never had a problem. My classes are always full. It's full for the fall already. Jeffrey's are too. And they just love it. And, about being sexy, what is sexier than working on the most powerful business technology ever created and making a lot of money? What's not sexy about that?
Nothing.
I'm trying to figure out what's not sexy. Lack of sexiness is nothing any of my students have ever complained about as they drive their $50,000, $60,000, $80,000 cars and live in their $400,000 houses. They don't complain about sex. Right?
That's true. That is true.
Yeah, I mean,
I want to get to Geoffrey, and I have a question for you. I want to talk about some of the key advantages and some of the unique features of your COBOL course, because like I said, your students don't miss at all. So tell us about that, and how does that work out within the short boot camp style programs?
Well, it's pretty much the same thing that I do during a regular semester here at Northern Illinois when I teach an advanced mainframe course like I do. The students have had a semester of assembler before they come to my class.
Wow.
That's an actual requirement for every student that comes through the Bachelor of Science program at Northern Illinois. I've heard that it's going to be going away at some point because they don't value the mainframe and the mainframe curriculum as much as they should. But I think things might be changing. I just haven't gotten an update about that recently.
Okay.
But the thing is I'm one of those teachers that I prefer to teach quality rather than quantity. So I have distilled out the very basic mainframe topics that my students, what I feel my students would need to go in one semester from being computer literate. They've had C++, sometimes 3 semesters by that point. Some of them have had Java, a semester of Java, and they've had data structures and systems analysis and design. But when they come to my class, we start out with the basics of JCL. We move then, after they learn that, we learn how to write the JCL for the COBOL compiler, the high-level assembler, and the binder, and how to put things together and do a fetch and execute. And then
You're teaching all of this?
Yes.
Wow.
The next
Keep
thing
going. I'm sorry.
Well, I push them pretty hard. It's not an easy class.
Right.
is not an easy class, but most succeed. That's the impressive thing. Most do. But I push them hard and I make them do practical, hands-on programming. I'm not a theoretician. And I just, that's how I learned from a music degree to be a programmer, is it was hands-on. That was the emphasis of our department years and years ago. Not theory. It was hands-on programming to make you a productive part of the industry. And that's what I learned. And then one of the things I also teach is from the standpoint of someone that doesn't know what the dickens they're doing. Like me, when I first learned COBOL, I had no idea what I was doing. So that's how I kind of direct people that don't know computers how to learn computers and how to do the programming. But then we learn how to program the basics of COBOL.
Wow.
That's what we do next. And we proceed through that in a way that I think is easier for them to comprehend along the way. And then after that, we do a pretty complex tables program, and then I have them do it in assembler. I have them write not the tables program, but the basic COBOL program. I have them rewrite it, create the same report in assembler, QSAM assembler. And then from that, we do tables, and then we do subprograms and linkage. And we call some assembler subprograms from COBOL, other COBOL programs from COBOL, and that sort of thing. And if I have time, I teach them how to do DB2SQL in COBOL. And what I really like to do is—
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's not— I don't get into it as deeply as I'd like to, but they're exposed to it.
And so you want the exposure again, right?
Well,
yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Geoffrey, but when it sounds just it's like it's impossible that he needs a classroom full of geniuses. No, if you look at his lectures, when he says crystallize and distill, he knows exactly what he's talking about, because he breaks it down in ways that you just follow. If you're paying attention, you follow. And that's why and I make this statement, and I dare anybody to prove me wrong. There are no students in the country anywhere that are coming out of an undergraduate program that can do what those students can do on a mainframe. Anywhere I know of at undergraduate level, it's unheard of today. Still, no, I'm serious.
I really appreciate that.
I'm plugged in the end, and they would kill to get people that can do that.
So, within mainframes and within the companies that you all currently have partnerships with, and I guess Gary might be the best one to answer this. There's a lot of talk in and out of the community that says, we just can't find talent. We just don't know where to go. And I'm baffled, because I'm like, well, there's talent everywhere, or at least maybe that's just from my standpoint. But, as someone that actually has brought together major businesses within the consortium, what seems to be the challenge when it comes down to, recruiting and training? I don't understand. Maybe I was hoping that you can help us with that.
Well, I don't think I have all the answers, but
you've got quite a few, I can tell you that.
I'll try to give you, first, I think we see a huge trend that people, it's like I need the person with 3 to 4 or 5 years experience. That's what I want.
That's it.
And that's the problem. They're not out there.
Yeah.
And
my students, I can't, sometimes they have a hard time. They do find jobs eventually. Okay. But the thing is everybody that's advertising right now says 3 years COBOL experience. And they don't realize what students that could come out of this consortium, out of our training, and the students that come out of my classes at NIU, those people have 3 years of training, of experience, because they learn the basics. And sometimes they can step on the job. I've heard this. They can step into a job and they can do things that others on the job for 3 years can't do.
I see.
And to back to
And
that,
it'll be the same for the consortium. You
Right.
know, if you're
So
teaching the things
the
that
idea though is that
we want to teach.
if there's a gap, right? So we need to get a pipeline going.
Mhm.
And our whole vision of this consortium is we go out and recruit, which we did last year very successfully. You know, the constraints that we had last year were unbelievable. We could only recruit people within the Cincinnati area. Now, first you're going to say, okay, I can recruit people for a COBOL programming mainframe opportunity, but yet you can only do it in Cincinnati. And, you know, that was a challenge, but we did it. You know, we ended up getting some fine people. So just think if we can expand that to unbelievable, you know, unlimited boundaries. There are people out there that have the wherewithal to come in, take these classes.
So the question is, you were saying that you have instances of you have mainframe instances and you have other resources that are available to the MLC. So with all of these wonderful resources, does the client or the partner that comes into the consortium, do they just pick from the resources that you have? Do you have a curriculum that's already in place?
Well, no, there's a curriculum. So for any given boot camp, there will be, so, you know, there's a basic curriculum. Like I said, 80% of it's going to be the same. My intro class is going to be the same pretty much for everybody.
Okay.
Pretty much for everybody. The intro class is not going to change. The COBOL class is pretty much the same also, although there may be a little nuance. Now, they may say, like, for example, one customer said they want them to know a little more about vSAM. I don't know vSAM a lot, but vSAM is a pretty deep topic. So the curriculum is both static, but it's dynamic. Right?
Okay.
There's a part of it, but there's a dynamic part of it. And so there's full flexibility. Whatever they need in terms of resources, external resources, those are pretty, I mean, we spin those up. We're going to start using more and more virtual resources. So, you know, that's whatever the customer needs.
Right.
Whatever they need.
Okay.
That's another thing we can teach is IDCAMs and vSAM and COBOL interacting with vSAM. That's just another thing.
Yeah.
So
okay.
We'll listen to what the partnership wants.
Exactly. And what I believe is there's plenty of content and you know, resources out there for us to adjust if we need to. But I firmly believe that at least at the beginning, it's going to be that 80-20, getting people in like we did last year. It was a huge success. And, you know, we can have definitely, you know, break offs and do, you know, some special, you know, someone wants more of DB2 or, you know, something specialized that can be after the fact. But, you know, we're going to have a core program that's proven. And I think that's the key thing.
Pretty solid.
That, you know, if we can get them, you know, we have that set criteria where we need them to be. Once we get there, they meet those, then they can move on to a lot of other things. But it's getting that foundation set to help them understand, you know, the core values of what the mainframe system's about, the language, and then going from there, you know, they're ready to go.
The more the partners, the more the evolving of what we're doing.
Yeah. Good point. Good point.
We can customize it however necessary.
Okay. So I want to ask each of you, and I'll start with Geoffrey first.
Don't ask me to do Android.
Don't ask. I want to ask all of you the same question. We only have a little bit more time left, but I'm going to start with Geoffrey. Why should an organization join the Mainframe Learning Consortium?
Because it would be a smart move. That's about as simple as it can get. It's because they're going to get quality training and they don't have to pay for this training program to get real programmers out of it that can do the work. They're not going to have to pay $20,000 to get 3 people through the program, or whatever it costs. I shouldn't say a number, but they're going to be paying. And
like they're not going to be paying excessively, is what you're saying? Is that what I'm hearing?
People.
Okay.
But if they partner, then everybody pays their part and everybody gets the number of people that they need. It's just a smart move. And they'll all get the same quality people regardless of how many people they put into the program.
That's an important point.
Yeah.
That's an important point.
They're all going to come out with the same skills.
Quality is consistent. Yeah, that's a very good point. We need to make sure they're clear about that.
Okay.
You're going to get more quality because you have more students.
Okay.
You get more students, you get more candidates, but you don't get more quality.
Right.
And so, Geoffrey, you're saying it's a smart move. What about the return? Tell me about that.
The return to them, they're going to get the best students that they possibly can out of any mainframe training program.
I see.
We're going to teach hands-on. We're not going to give them a set of slides that they can look at in the evening and take some quizzes and pass them a certificate. No.
Wow.
So
you got to put your hands on it in order to be successful in this particular course. Okay.
And there will be our eyes watching what they're doing along the way and making sure that they're actually going past the milestones that need to be gotten past to get the right credentials. And this is going to be this is something that I feel is very important. You can't do this stuff on your own unless you're a genius. You can't. And even if you're a genius, you can't do it. This stuff's hard.
Because it's contextual. It is contextual, right? And when you talk about the return, I like being able to clarify the value proposition. I like that. What we're doing specifically is we're lowering the cost of onboarding, we're lowering the risk, we're increasing return because the students are beginning higher up the food chain. Where they're starting from us is higher up the food chain than they would be without us. The risk goes down, the cost goes down, the return goes up. So if you want to figure out where the ROI comes from, that's exactly where it comes from. Well, I mean, Geoffrey summed it up. This is a smart move, but it's a smart move because it's a return. But this is a problem that they're going to have. It's a problem that they have already.
Yeah.
Just ask them.
It's not going away.
Why? I mean, it's either us or do nothing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
There's definitely a sense of urgency there,
like
that's
this,
for sure.
I love doing videos like this. I love doing presentations like this. But at some point, it's like, how much are we going to talk about? This stuff is so glaringly obvious. When are we going to do it? I mean, what else does anybody need to know to make a decision about this? What question can we answer? You asked about return, we answered it. You asked why should they do it, we answered it. What other question is there?
Yep.
So I guess we can move on to Dr. Seay. Then you've given us that piece. Why else should businesses join in with the Mainframe Learning Consortium?
The alternative is spooky, really spooky.
You don't want the alternative.
Because you know what? Where I came from before I came back to teach, we ran 12,000 COBOL programs every night, every business night in the batch cycle. And if one of those programs went down and there was nobody there to be able to fix the COBOL problem, then we wouldn't bring our onlines up at 6 a.m. the next morning.
Wow.
And if I remember correctly, the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, would fine us something like $1 million a business day that we couldn't process mutual fund transactions. Now, if that isn't scary, I don't know what is.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're dealing with the world's money.
You got to have people that can do the COBOL. You got to have them. That's all there is to it.
So are you saying that they don't have to do the Java and the Python?
Sure they do. But we're talking about the nightly business cycle, 12,000 COBOL programs.
Right.
If it stops, you're in big trouble. If you
Right.
don't have somebody that can do the COBOL, some of those programs haven't been opened up since 1969.
Talk about it.
I mean, we just need to be grown-ups and focus on how important this stuff is. This stuff is important. This is the world's money.
You got to have people.
What's funny about it? This is the world's money.
Yeah. So
nothing against any other language. COBOL, Python, Java, we need all of them.
but the right tool for the right job, right?
It's not counted in Java. It's counted.
Where we're having problems now, and where companies are having problems, obviously, is getting COBOL people, getting warm bodies in COBOL seats.
Well put.
I see.
And assembler seats, some assembler seats.
That's a dovetail off that. We do teach Java. We do teach Python. We teach everything else too. So what's great is that you can't put us in a box. And that's what a consortium brings to the table. You know, it's not one, we're not on a single lane, you know, coming up to a single lane bridge and you're like, you go, I go. You know, you're on the multi, Geoffrey can speak a little German. He can say, tell me about the fastest highway in the world. You know, that's what we are. And that's what a consortium does. It's many lanes. It's not, you know, you're not joining just because it's COBOL. You're joining because the ROI for companies is to come in and see that we can bring people, get them up to speed very cost effectively. And I think, you know, I'm the newest to the table here, right? And what my observation, a lot of people, at least it doesn't seem like they like to talk about, there's a shortage of COBOL people. They like to talk about how can we modernize this so we don't have to say that. And we can help with that too. However, you still need the foundation, and that's not going to go away. So we're all about that.
Yeah.
And we're all about the ROI is companies coming in and saying, this is what I'm hearing. What are you hearing? Do we need to do this? Well, we may not be able to answer that, but then you can come to us and say, well, this is what we need. And then we can say, we can give that to you and we can help you, you know, grow a pipeline of potential, you know, employees that are going to do this for you. So the ROI for companies, it doesn't eliminate risk. That never will. It will mitigate it to the point where you can come in and feel confident that it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg to get the people that you need to know, that you know you need to have. And I think that's, a lot of people are afraid about the cost. You know, training is expensive. I mean, you know, having Geoffrey and Cameron.
That's not cheap.
Spending 8 hours, 5 days, 12 weeks. But you know what you're getting? You're getting what they need.
Yeah.
And you bring a consortium in. We start with the numbers, share cost.
I'm just really excited to see who and when all of this is really going to happen. When's your next class? When's your next class start with the consortium crew?
Our starting date we're shooting for is June 20th. And right now it's going to be the same curriculum that we ran last year, which was very successful.
Yes.
And we're excited. And for people that are listening, if you're looking for a position, looking for new work, reach out to us because, you know, this could be an opportunity for you to learn something about mainframe and walk into a Fortune 500 company and be there for a year with these two gentlemen mentoring you, available.
Yes.
You know, I mean, it's a great situation for people that want to transition, want to get into something new. Someone, you know, the best scenario, again, last year, we had a gentleman who was a welder that walked in I mean, the same story as you, Leticia. You know, you come from that. You definitely come from that same walk, right? I mean, from a hairstylist, you know, to this, it can be done. It will be done, and we want companies to ask us too about more how they can be part of this, and we're excited, very excited.
That's outstanding. That is outstanding. Are there any final thoughts before we close today? You know, there's some companies that may be out there that are looking for talent, right? And with you all having a learning consortium, that means that you're going to have this constant flow, this constant pool of highly qualified people. Will you be able to fulfill those asks from those companies that are looking for just simply talent, headhunting? Any thoughts?
Well, I can say from what where we're at today, we have a very strong recruiting arm that's up for the task or the challenge, if you will. And I think again, the whole idea of a consortium is, you know, it's just not us four. We're not the solution for everything, right? So we're going to have people join partners, and at the end of the day, we're going to be a funnel of resources, train them, and come back out. And that's where we're going, and I'm very excited about it.
Okay, Dr. Seay, Professor Decker, any last words?
Yeah, sure. Look, we're going to post something. We're going to post some more information where we're going to be recruiting. And so we're going to let people know, you know, what that process is. We have a process worked out, the screening process. We didn't have any well, we were able to find people last summer. Yeah. It's always problematic, but we know how to do it. So yeah, we're looking forward to having the class on June 20th, and the companies fall in line, and we'll be fine because we can do this. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely, that's right. So I really appreciate you all coming on and having a really good chat here on the main network. And you know, it's been wonderful to hear from you. We don't get to talk very. Yes, we do. We talk a lot, but we don't get to talk.
Not hour-long blocks. Not hour-long blocks.
We don't get to talk for hour-long blocks. We talk in tweets to each other or posts. But it's really nice to see you all, and I'm super excited. You know, when I heard about the Mainframe Learning Consortium coming together, I was just really like, it's about time. It's about time, because everybody talks that they can do, you know, we can train folks, but we don't have enough people to train folks, or the people aren't there, or whatever the excuse is. But you guys are not just talking about it, you're being about it. And
we are the solution.
That's it. Yeah, it's the total solution right there. So I really appreciate you all coming through, and thank you so much. And yeah, you just really have leveled the playing field, because you have some of the best instructors backed by knowledge transfer, creating this Mainframe Learning Consortium. So you have partnerships, active partnerships, to make things happen. The Mainframe Learning Consortium, everyone, is not just talking about it, they're being about it. They're talking the talk, and they're walking the walk, and they're ready to train and cultivate that mainframe talent that you need in your production environments. I'd like to thank my guests, Gary Gwaltney, Professor Geoffrey Decker, and Dr. Cameron Seay, for coming on with us, and, you know, just really opening up our minds to what we need to know about the Mainframe Learning Consortium. You can find their link connected with this broadcast, and we will see you again. Thank you so much for joining us on the main network. My name is Leticia. You have a great day.